If you're struggling to earn 3 stars at Town Hall 14, these are the best attack strategies you need to use to 3-star any base. To kick things off, let's start at number 5 with the Mass Super Hogs. This is a fantastic strategy that works really well, especially with the new Archer Queen action figure equipment, which can really make hero dives get a lot more value. So to start the strategy off, we're going to be using a short Royal Champion charge. Now, since at Town Hall 14 you don't have the haste vial or you don't have the fox, you're going to use the invisibility spells back to back. You can cover defenses thanks to the electro boots doing constant damage, but you want to time these every 4 seconds. This way you can clear just enough defenses, and once you've gotten all the value, you can then recall her back. This then allows you to start setting up funneling. You can use a wizard maybe on one side to clear trash buildings, but you'll use a Yeti to cut off your hero dive, so that way your heroes can start working into the core, with your king, queen, apprentice warden, and log launcher to start moving in. This way you can use a poison spell to deal with the enemy's CC, and with the log launcher, you're going to be able to open walls deeper into the base. Additionally, having an ice golem is really nice as it provides that nice freeze, which is going to be super helpful. So this way, we can have something like the Barbarian King's Giant Gauntlet and Rage Vial to give him a lot more survivability while doing a lot more damage in the process. This allows us to delay our Queen's ability even further, so we can use a Rage spell with our Yetis from the CC and our Queen with her Magic Mirror and the Giant to really just start working through. And the Giant will be able to tank for a large area of that, so we can guarantee the Town Hall takedown and even more value. This then allows us to use our Super Hogs with the Grand Warden and the Royal Champion. Other than this, we're going to make sure that we are using our heal spell over splash damage to keep them moving through the base. This way, as they move from building to building and defense to defense, they stay relatively topped off and healed. We pretty much don't have to use them willy-nilly, and we don't even have to use the ability too early. We just want to make sure that we're getting the most out of our Super Hogs, the Warden, and obviously the heal spells. So having the Royal Champion with her Hog Puppets allows us to use a heal towards the back end of the base to heal everything, along with using the Eternal Tome on a majority of the Super Hogs. If you miss them, that's not a big problem, don't worry. Overall though, they're going to be able to easily overwhelm. Just make sure you have some form of cleanup, whether that is with the minions, wizards, and the super riders, but you should get a 3-star more often than not. At number 4, we have the Super Witches. They're still fantastic despite the fireball not being too crazy at Town Hall 14. And with the action figure equipment on the Queen, you have an additional tank that can provide solid support for your Super Witches. So in order to start with this strategy, you're obviously going to start with the fireball. Using one or a couple invisibilities is usually enough to get a solid funnel set. This then allows you to save some of the rest of your spells for other parts of the attack. Other than that, you do want to use healers to keep him alive, and maybe even a baby dragon to cut off the funnel. This way he goes exactly in the right direction. Now on the other side, you're going to be running the Barbarian King and the Siege Barrack. This allows you to use the Giant Gauntlet and Rage Vial to expand the funneling and get plenty more buildings down, especially towards the back end for your Super Witches to stay moving inside the base. This then allows us to start luring over the Warden and keep moving him through with the Super Witches and the big boys, while then also having an Ice Golem and the Archer Queen to work in. Having the Apprentice Warden here is fantastic as well, because it buffs the heroes, the Super Witches, the big boys, and the Giant from the action figure equipment. This way you can use another Super Wall Breaker to get a little bit deeper into the base, and using a Rage spell will boost all of your troops right the way in. Of course, having another invisibility can be really nice, and that way you can also have a jump spell connect the rest of the base. This allows you to use the Queen with her mirror and the action figure equipment to pretty much have a ton of tanking, and with another Rage spell, you can guarantee a ton of value. This is why the Giant is so nice to have, as its tanking is just top notch. Other than this though, you have your Royal Champion on the back end, and she's going to be able to stay alive for the rest of it. being able to clear back-end defenses while your big boys, super witches, your queen are dealing with all of those heavy key defenses. Other than that, you should be able to 3-star more often than not. I do recommend taking some cleanup like minions, but overall, you'll very easily 3-star with this strategy still. Now this is where overkill gets real with the fireball rocket balloons at number 3. This is still a very strong strategy, as the fireball can still get relatively good value, and obviously the hero dive really can take advantage of the action figure equipment. Pretty much for this strategy, we're going to be starting off with the Grand Warden. Now in this strategy as well, we are going to be running the Flame Flinger. So any mortars towards the outside is typically what we want to remove with a couple rocket balloons. This allows it to get fantastic value. You also want to take advantage of where the expos are placed, since expos do counter this siege machine. Other than this, we're going to be using the Warden Walk on the other side in order to clear out a solid funnel. This allows the siege or the Flame Flinger to get its own value, while the Warden can do the same. Obviously, if you're going into a lot of DPS, such as multiple point defenses and enemy heroes, I do recommend dropping a Rage spell. This is going to keep your Warden alive even if you don't bring any headhunters. This will allow you to easily push through and use invisibility spells along with the fireball to get plenty of good value. If you can remove the enemy CC, that becomes even better for this strategy. Once you've used the fireball though and your Warden's still walking successfully, you can then start to funnel and get your hero dive in with an Ice Golem, the Barbarian King, the Queen, and an Apprentice Warden to follow. This really is going to allow you to get a lot more, and you'll see why this is just so overkill. Having rage spells ready for the Warden as he goes through enemy heroes and defenses, while your King and Queen get plenty of great value with the super wall breakers being used to open up different layers, which then also lets you use the Barbarian King Spiky Ball and Earthquake Boots to get even more. This then also has the Archer Queen with her giant and the mirrors in order to get plenty of great value, and any free spells that you might have will really help, along with a rage spell. This then also lets you have the Royal Champion on the back end, and realistically at this point you don't need the rocket loons, but you can use them anyways. But overall, this is super overkill. This is why this particular strategy is incredibly strong and just very overkill at Town Hall 14. Now, in case you don't want your attack revolving around super troops, Mass Miner is still a fantastic strategy that works insanely well, especially when you have both heroes funneling on either side, which is very helpful considering the Giant can allow you to do that quite well. To keep this relatively simple, you're going to be starting with your Barbarian King on one side with your Archer Queen on the other. I do recommend using a couple super barbarians, but you don't have to bring super barbarians. You could always take baby dragons, maybe Valkyries instead, but you have some options. Otherwise, you just want to make sure that your heroes are going into the base and particularly clearing out different areas of value. This is going to allow you to run the Barbarian King with his Giant Gauntlet and Rage Vial, while the Queen has the action figure and mirror along with the Apprentice Warden. This is going to allow you to delay her ability and get plenty more value off the base, while the Giant is also going to be really protected and has a ton more HP to work with. Plus, having a rage spell there is incredibly helpful. This way we can send in our Mass Miner along with the Grand Warden with the Life Gem and the Royal Champion. We're able to deal with the enemy CC with the Royal Champion in case it gets lured out and it's not killed off by the Queen. Otherwise, we're using a heal spell in the core to basically keep everything protected. Any free spells are incredibly good to use over splash damage defenses like the scatter shots. But otherwise, you just want to delay your ability towards the back end where you can then go ahead and use it over the Town Hall with a free spell and any heal spells that you might have left over. Other than that, just keep using free spells over splash damage defenses like the Town Hall. You do also have the Overgrowth, and you do want to use this early on so you don't have to worry about the Town Hall until later on in the attack. Other than that, having something like a battle drill will really help your super miners clear through a majority of the base, and having additional regular miners in there is going to help you 3-star more often than not. It's a super overkill strategy that I heavily recommend trying out. And arguably the best strategy for Town Hall 14 is still the Mass Dragon strategy, as it really doesn't need too many epic equipment and it's incredibly strong and easy to use. Pretty much for this strategy, we're going to be starting off with the Royal Champion Charge, which also is using the Rocket Spear. Since we don't have access to the haste file, we really are going to be using the Rocket Spear to get a majority of this. This then allows us to also deal with any skeleton traps that get lured out early on, since we're only allowed to use Lassie. But other than that, we're going to start using our invisibility spells every 4 seconds. And overall, this is really going to be it for a majority. You do want to take a few less invisibility so you can take an additional rage spell. But other than that, you really just want to allow your Royal Champion to get plenty of value off the base. Clearing different defenses and moving around the base will also help create an additional funnel. And other than this, these are really the only epics that you need for this attack. Other than that, once the invisibilities expire, she's gotten a decent amount of value, where you can use your queen with her giant arrow and healer puppets along with a few dragons to set up funneling. You can also do the same thing by clearing out a couple additional buildings before sending the rest of your dragons into the base. The queen in this situation is going to be able to stay alive and get a lot of great value in the process, and you don't need the giant since it doesn't work nearly as well in air spam attacks. This way you can use the Grand Warden's Eternal Tome and Healing Tome to keep everything protected while keeping the blimp moving towards the core. This allows you to use that over the Town Hall and of course take that down with the Rage Spell and the Yetis, and you can really just use your Minion Prince's Dark Orb and Henchman Puppets to keep your main dragon push alive. And overall, you should be able to 3-star more often than not. You'll have enough dragons alive, and you'll have a ton of heroes still alive, such as the Queen, the Minion Prince, and the Warden, along with a lot of dragons. And since you don't have to worry about the Town Hall anymore, this becomes a breeze to 3-star. You just have to keep in mind that time could be a factor, so just be aware of that. But overall, it's an incredibly strong strategy that has been tried and true and still is one of the best options. Now, with these attack strategies, hopefully this helps you find your perfect army that you can use from Town Hall 14 and beyond. But obviously, if you want the best epic equipment to unlock, whether it's for gems, event medals, or for CWO medals, check this video out right here.